So let's go ahead and get started. The nervous system has nervous tissue that's composed of cells. Like most tissues, these cells are going to be divided based on their function. So we have cells that conduct electrical impulses throughout the body. So we're going to call those conducting cells. And there's actually only one type of conducting cells, and that cell type is going to be a neuron. And then we're going to have tissue that's composed of non-conducting cells. So these cells do not conduct electrical impulses. So their job is not to control anything. Their job is actually to provide support and protection to these cells that actually conduct the impulses. This category of cells, and there's two different names or words that we use to describe those. Either they're going to be called the glial cells, or you can call them neuroglial cells. So if we look at the illustration here, in figure 12.6, neuroglial cells of the central nervous system, CNS. The neuroglial cells that are shown here are, we'll start with this one first, oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes, their function is to actually produce the protective layer known as the myelin sheath in the central nervous system, oligodendrocytes. The next one that is visible here is going to be a microglial cell. The job of the microglial cell is basically to keep the tissue and all the surrounding area clean, and it does that by phagocytizing the cells that are around it. That means to engulf, kind of like to eat. The next one is going to be an astrocyte. As you can see, it looks like it's a little star-shaped cell. The job of this cell, called an astrocyte, is to protect and support the surrounding tissues. So if you look at this astrocyte, it sends parts of its cell membrane, and it helps to hold up the rest of the surrounding tissues, and it helps to support and protect the tissue by forming what's known as the blood-brain barrier, the BBB. The blood-brain barrier actually prevents substances from leaking into blood vessels. So this is a blood vessel, like an artery. You see a little red blood cell in there. And then this little astrocyte is going to wrap parts of its cell structure around, and it'll prevent stuff from leaking into there. So it just makes it like an extra support or extra covering, so things cannot diffuse into this blood vessel. And here, ependymal cells. Ependymal cells, their job is to actually produce cerebral spinal fluid, CSF. Cerebral spinal fluid is the fluid that is produced in the brain and the spinal cord. It helps to protect the brain and the spinal cord. It's part of the central nervous system that, if you've ever heard of like meningitis, you can actually test your cerebral spinal fluid for infection. You actually can inject medications into your cerebral spinal fluid, and then it'll travel through your central nervous system. Ependymal cells. They also have little cilia, you can see. They help to circulate and move that cerebral spinal fluid across the brain and inside of the spinal cord. The next one that's shown here is, they don't have it here, but let's go to this picture. This is the peripheral nervous system. So these are associated specifically with just the nerves of the nervous system. So the difference here is central